Welcome. Let's talk about reviewing NHL play-in games for August 3rd. Now, I didn't do round robin games because it's just too much hockey. Yeah, I know, there's no such thing, but as I mentioned earlier, I want to stay married. Now, let's start off with Rangers versus Carolina. This is a perfect example of a matchup where regular season games between the two clubs mean nothing because New York took all four, but over the Hurricanes, and what can I say? Carolina's just schooling them right now, and it looks like they're going to sweep them. I can't believe I picked the Rangers as an upset in this one. I changed my mind last minute because of the injuries to Hamilton and Pesce, and the fact that Mrazek was in net and Shesterkin was in net for New York, who hasn't been. Lundqvist has been in net, which is a great segue because that needs to change if they're going to at least win one matchup. It's not like he's been horrible, but he's just not good enough anymore, really. And they need to get at least Georgiev in there if Shesterkin's not ready. I think he's injured because he was sitting in the stands. And if he's in the stands, he doesn't have COVID, right? So there's that. Now, also, they can't let Carolina get the first goal because they're practically unbeatable once they get it. I think they're like 26-1 or something like that. Don't quote me on that. And also in this game, the Rangers had 9 players playing their first playoff game. I just didn't believe it. I couldn't believe that stat at all. I probably will double check that. Should have done that before I hit the record button. Moving on, the lack of discipline because of that was really evident, and team defense was just overall was pretty poor on the Rangers' part. Svechnikov obviously was amazing. He had a hat trick in this one, and when it comes to the Hurricanes goaltending, Mrazek wasn't tested enough. The shots were 34-24. Rangers had 24 shots. You know, they can get to this guy, but yeah, you can't just shoot it once and be one and done, because that's what New York has been doing. They're not getting any rebounds. And these stretch passes that they continue to do. The Maple Leafs used to do a lot of them under Babcock. They got to cut that out because they're getting picked off left, right, and center. Now, let's take a look at the box score between the two. As I mentioned, the shots are 34-24 for Carolina. Face-off win percentage was 54-46. Percentage rate for the Hurricanes. Power play, both teams were 1 for 4. Penalty minutes, the Rangers had 22. That's a trend that hasn't changed since the regular season. And the Hurricanes had 12. Hits were 37-33 for New York. Blocks were 13-11 for the Hurricanes. Giveaways were 16-10 for the Rangers. Now, when it comes to goalie stats here, Lundqvist stopped 30-34 with an .882 save percentage. Ouch. And Mrazek stopped 23-24, ho-hum, with a .958 save percentage. Imagine if he had his save percentage in last year's playoffs, how far they might have gone. Now, when it comes to the scoring, Svechnikov started it all off, and that was assisted by Aho and Vatanen. Vatanen also had a very good game, as well as Aho. Panarin tied it up in the first period. The Breadman assisted by Strome and DeAngelo. In the second period, Svechnikov made it 2-1 for the Hurricanes, assisted by Vatanen and Aho. That's Vatanen's Vatanen and Aho's second point on the night. Then, still in the second, Martinook made it 3-1, assisted by Geekie, who also had a really good game, and McGinn. Martinook had a fight with DeAngelo at the end of the game with a couple minutes left, by the way. And they both used to be ex-teammates back in Arizona. Yeah, interesting little note there. And then in the third period, Svechnikov got his hat trick. Aho had the assist, and that was Aho's third point of the night as well. So Carolina fans are ecstatic, and if New York and their coach don't make some drastic changes here, besides bringing in 9 new players playing their first playoff game. Again, I got to recheck that. Anyways, let's move on and let's talk about Calgary versus Winnipeg. Now, the Jets won this one 3-2 over the Flames. So the series is now tied 1-1. Of course, Laine and Scheifele were out of the lineup. They got hurt. Laine with his hand, Scheifele with his foot, Achilles. We don't know yet, but apparently it's not as serious as it looked, which is a good thing. Maybe we'll get one of these guys back in this series. Now they brought in 3 new players into the lineup, which is important because they got some depth scoring. One of them which came from one of these 3 guys in Harkins. And what Winnipeg did different this night was at times they did a better job of clogging up the neutral zone, which helped turn over some pucks. And they also got their D more involved in the offense. They were pinching more, which helped with the cycle and the forecheck, of course. And their penalty kill was also very good. Or maybe it's also Calgary's power play stank. Maybe it's kind of both. Each team had like 6 opportunities. There was 1 goal scored on 12 power plays, 12 penalties that were called. Unbelievable. Anyways, Ehlers had a really good game, although he did cough up 1 puck, which led directly to a goal. Sam Bennett. What's up with Sam Bennett? He does like almost nothing point-wise during the regular season, but he's Conan the Barbarian in the playoffs. He was like a point per game last playoffs, and he scored tonight as well. Just so polarizing, that guy. Comes out of nowhere. Kind of went almost end to end, too. Now, Tkachuk was also good for the Flames. He was Tkachuk. He drew a lot of attention to himself for good and bad reasons, and he drew a couple of penalties in the process. But in the end, really, Calgary was the more undisciplined team tonight. So we'll see where that goes next and see what kind of changes are made on their end. Let's talk about the box scores. Now, Flames outshot Winnipeg 30-26. When it came to the face-off percentage, the Jets took that 57-43. The power play I already mentioned, each team had 6 opportunities. Winnipeg scored on 1 of theirs. Penalty minutes, each of them had 14. Hits were 39-31 for Calgary. It's surprising because they're the smaller team for the most part. Blocks were 12 apiece. Giveaways were 16-14 for the Flames. Now when it comes to the goaltending, both goalies looked good, although only one of them walked away with a better stat pack, and that's Hellebuyck, who stopped 28 of 30 with a .933 save percentage. Talbot, on the other hand, who did play well, I just think he just got unlucky, stopped 23 of 26 with an .885 save percentage. I expect him to play the next game as well. Now, when it comes to the scoring, Winnipeg scored first by Jansen Harkins, one of the players who stepped in tonight. That was assisted by Lowry and Roslovic. In the second period, Winnipeg made it 2-0 on a goal from Lowry, assisted by Roslovic, his second point of the night, and Morrissey. Then Calgary made it, still in the second, made it 2-1 on a goal from Lindholm. That was the giveaway from Lowry, which was unassisted. And then Sam Bennett tied the game, still in the second period, assisted by Lucic and Hanifin. And then in the third period, Ehlers becomes the hero. That was assisted by Pionk and Connor. And Ehlers, I want to say didn't he have more than 1 point? No, it was just that 1 point. It was, yeah, okay. Anyways, that was his first goal in the playoffs in like 20-something games. Can you believe it? Yeah, crazy. In any case, let's move on and let's talk about Pittsburgh versus Montreal. But before we do, I just want to ask you to please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out. Moving on. So Penguins won this one 3-1. The series is now tied. Both of these teams brought back the same lineups. Nothing changed. And like almost every game today, it was a penalty parade. Have you noticed that yet? How day 1, August 1st and August 3rd, the teams that have been playing, which have been the same really, are there tons of penalties being called. Whereas yesterday, August 2nd, almost none. Very, very little. It's, yeah, strange. Now, Pittsburgh just came back with better execution in this game. You know, they were hitting their passes, their transition was better, and Montreal was not. I mean, this was a tight game all the way through, but let's face it, you know, in Price we trust. Pittsburgh could have made this like a 5-1 game. Carey really saved Montreal's bacon for the most part. Montreal didn't really come alive until the third period. Now, when it came to players that stood out for me for Pittsburgh, it was Sheary, it was Crosby, Dumoulin, Letang, and Marino all looked great. For Montreal, it was Suzuki and Price. Maybe there's one or two guys I'm missing. You can let me know in the comment section. Players who are off their game, Malkin. What's up with him? I wonder if he's playing hurt or something, or what his deal is. Not that he was awful, but yeah. And then for Montreal, Armia, he just took bad penalty after bad penalty. He had at least two. I think it was more. Now, at the end of the second period, the shots were 29-13 for Pittsburgh. The ice were tilted. The ice was tilted definitely for the first two periods. But in the third period, strictly in the third period, the shots were 13-9 for Montreal, because once, you know, Pittsburgh went up 2-0, they abandoned everything into the wind and just started pinching like hell. And that's, you know, it kind of paid off for them. Now, yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh tilted the ice for over 2 periods of play. That's basically what happened, and Price stood on his head. Now, when it comes to the box score, shots on goal, were 38-27 for the Penguins. Face-off win percentage was 54-46 for Pittsburgh. Power play, again, nobody has a good power play in these play-ins. Penguins were 0 for 5. Still, how do you with Crosby, Malkin, you know, Gensel? What? Montreal was 0 for 3. Their power play kind of was always kind of bad anyway. Penalty minutes, 14 for Montreal, 8 for Pittsburgh. Hits were 31-20 for the Canadiens. Blocks were 14-11 for Montreal. Giveaways were 11-10 for the Canadiens. Now, the goaltending. Let's start here with Price, who stopped 35-37 with a .946 save percentage. The goals scored, there's nothing he could do. Literally, and Murray didn't look bad either, but he just wasn't tested enough probably. I mean, he stopped 27-28 with a .964 save percentage. And when it comes to the scoring, Crosby scored in the first. He opened it up. That's one maybe Price would want back, but it was Crosby, and the play just happened so fast. Anyways, that was assisted by Gensel and Sheary. Second period, there were no goals. Third period, Zucker scores an amazing goal from Sheary and Dumoulin. Sheary gets his second point of the night, obviously. Montreal then makes it 2-1, makes it a game. Kotkaniemi gets a rebound in front of Murray, who was letting a lot of rebounds. I'm surprised Montreal didn't take more advantage of that. Anyways, Lehkonen and Petry assisted on that goal, and then this was an empty net goal by Gensel to make it 3-1. That was assisted by Rust. Let's move on and let's talk about Edmonton versus Chicago. So the Oilers won this one 6-3 over the Blackhawks. They tied the series, 9 goals. Unbelievable. Spoiler alert, McDavid gets a hat trick. Now, Edmonton going into this game, they shuffled their lineup just a little bit. Archibald played with McDavid and the Nuge on the first line. Ennis was with Draisaitl and Yamamoto on the second. On the third line, it was Anastasiou, Sheenan, and Cassian who were in charge of shadowing the Taves lineup. Now, this game was 2-0 before you could blink. McDavid potted 2 goals. He was on fire. And by the end of the first, the shots were 17-9 for Edmonton. Now, Neither team's defense looked overly impressive here, but I got to give a shout out to Russell, who seems to block a shot every 3 minutes. His legs must look like a map of South America right now. And yeah, both teams had some high-octane offense going, but there were some very lucky bounces going into the net. I just felt so sorry for the goaltenders tonight, although I think both of them will start the next game. And this is another game where there was a penalty parade. Unbelievable. Now, by the end of the second period, the shots were 26-19 for Edmonton. Chicago kind of caught up just a little bit. Oilers got a lot of depth scoring here. They got 2 goals from their fourth line. So McDavid was really good. The fourth line was good. The third line was tight checking Blackhawks' first line. Speaking of which, Chicago standouts were Kane had a really terrific game tonight. Some of the offense that came from the Chicago's defense, like from Slater Cuckoo, he had a really good night too. Now let's talk about the box scores. The shots were 35-26 for the Oilers. Face-off win percentage, very lopsided here, 60-40% for Edmonton. The power play, 0 for 4, went the Blackhawks. Edmonton, only 1 for 5. They seem to be the only team that can score on the power play. Remember, they had 3 power play goals in their last game. Penalty minutes were 10 for the Blackhawks, 8 for the Oilers. Hits were 27-10 for Edmonton. Blocks were 22-14 for the Oilers. Giveaways, 19-14 for Edmonton. It wasn't pretty out there, folks. Now, the goaltenders... Oh boy. Crawford stopped 29 of 35 shots, had an 8.29 save percentage. Koskinen stopped 23 of 26. He wasn't tested nearly enough, had an 8.85 save percentage. I still think both these goaltenders will be back. Crawford, obviously, but Koskinen, yeah, still. Now, the scoring. In the first period, McDavid opens up at like 19 seconds. He scores from the Nuge and from Nurse. And then... just over 3 minutes later, he scores again, assisted by Nugent Hopkins as well to make it 2-0 for Edmonton. Patrick Kane makes it 2-1 for Chicago. He gets it's the assist from DeBrincat and Slater Cuckoo. That's 2-1 Edmonton. Then in the second period, Tyler Ennis makes it 3-1 for Edmonton. That's an unassisted goal that he gets there. Then Chicago makes it 3-2. A goal by Slater Cuckoo, assisted by DeBrincat and Doc. Kane should get an assist on this one because he just drew a couple of Edmonton players away from Cuckoo on this one, who just slid right into the shot when he got the puck, and bam. Oli Mata tied the game for Chicago. That was assisted by Doc and Kane. And then before the period second was over, Connor McDavid gets his hat trick, assisted by Nuge and Chiasson. They've even throwing, I think they threw a few hats on the ice too. I don't know where they got those from. They had them in reserve, ready to go, just in case, especially with him, right? And in the third period, the fourth line goes all Wayne Gretzky on everybody. James Neal gets his second goal of the playoffs unassisted. This was a bad giveaway by Crawford behind the net. He kind of whiffed on a puck as he was trying to pass it away. And yeah, the rest is history. And then Alex Chiasson, also unassisted, makes the game 6-3. And there you have it. That's it. That's all. I would love to hear what you think of these games down in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And hey, in this bizarro land we're living in today, please be kind to each other. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.